of the methods and principles that is used to distinguish correct from incorrect reasoning. Logic is the study of the methods and principles used to distinguish correct from incorrect reasoning. So, when we reason about any matter, that means when we give any reason for what we believe, okay, we produce certain arguments in support of this. Isn't it? Each of
Yes,
our
yes.
beliefs are supported, or each of our beliefs are given some regions. Okay, so when we reason about any matter, we produce arguments to support our conclusion. Our arguments includes our arguments include regions that we think justify our beliefs. So in order to justify what we believe, we provide arguments, and arguments are supported by certain regions. But can we say all the regions are good? All the regions are good enough to support our argument? That is the very question that logic deals with. So, if we are able to provide sufficient grounds for our beliefs, okay, then the arguments that is being carried forward to support our belief becomes valid. Okay, so that means all the regions are not good. So we may always ask, when we confront an argument, does the conclusion reached or follow from the propositions that we assumed? So, in logic, we seek to discover and apply those criteria on the basis of which we will be able to find valid reasons to support our arguments. Then, reasoning is not the only way in which people support assertions they make or accept. They may appeal to authority or to emotions, which can be very persuasive, or they may rely without reflection simply on habits, etc. That means it is not always reasoning which is the guiding force for our argument. Sometimes, or many of the time, we depend upon any authority, we depend upon our emotions, we depend upon the habits that we are having to give support to our arguments. However, when someone wants to make judgments that can be completely relied upon, their only solid foundations will be correct reasoning. But when we're talking about judgments, and the judgments are the mental products, and when judgments are expressed in language, then it becomes argument. So in a logical argument, we depend upon reasoning. We do not rely upon authority. We do not rely upon any habits or emotions. Right? So when we seek reasons for what we believe, we have an inference. So, whenever or when we seek reasons for what we believe, we have an inference. Inference जोड़ाको हमें ओडिया रे कहूचु अनुमान, और इसको हिंदी में भी बोलते हैं अनुमान। जैसे आप लोग जानते होंगे, वैलिड सोर्सेस ऑफ नॉलेज में परसेप्शन आता है, प्रत्यक्ष आता है, इन्फरेंस आता है, अनुमान आता है, ये सब आपने पढ़ा होगा मुझे लगता है। तो when we seek reasons for what we believe, we have an inference. But not all or every inference is correct and valid. So, it is the business of logic to distinguish valid inferences from invalid ones. Okay, so this is the business of logic to make a distinction between valid inferences from invalid inferences. But whether an inference is valid, yes,
Ma'am, inference is a little bit difficult to understand because I don't understand it properly. I mean,
okay,
we have reasons to believe that that act is inference or the reason itself is inference.
okay, let me give you an example. Okay,
Okay.
so the general example, the common example is you see smoke in the hill. Okay,
Okay.
are you Odia?
Yeah, anything. Odia or English, both.
अच्छा 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 ପାହାଡ଼ରେ ତମେ ଧୂଆଁ ଦେଖିଲ।
Huh.
ହଁ, ଧୂଆଁ ଦେଖିକି ତମେ କଣ ଜାଣିଲ? କୁହ, ଆନ୍ସର କୁହ।
Smoke is coming out behind the mountain.
ହଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସ୍ମୋକ୍ ଟା କେତେବେଳେ ଆସେ?
If a burning fire is there,
ୟେସ୍, ବଟ୍ ତମ ପରସେପସନ କାହାର ହେଲା? ସ୍ମୋକ୍ କୁ ପରସିଭ୍ କଲ,
huh.
ଫାୟାର କୁ ପରସିଭ୍ କରିଛ କି?
Perceive ମାନେ
ପରସିଭ୍ ମାନେ ଦେଖିବା।
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ଦେଖିଲ କାହାକୁ?
ସ୍ମୋକ୍
ସ୍ମୋକ୍ କୁ ଦେଖିଲ। ସ୍ମୋକ୍ କୁ ଦେଖିକି ଆଉ କାହାକୁ, ଆଉ କାହାର ପ୍ରେଜେନ୍ସ କୁ ତମେ ଆସର୍ଟ କଲ?
ହଁ
ନିଆଁର,
ଫାୟାର
ଫାୟାରର,
ଫାୟାର
ହେଲା। ତ
ହଁ
ଏଠି ଆମେ କଣ କଲୁ? We perceive the smoke and we infer the fire. କାହିଁକି ନା ଆମେ ଜାଣିଛୁ if there was no fire then there will not be any smoke,
ସ୍ମୋକ୍
ହଁ ନା ନାହିଁ? ତ
ଓହୋ
ଏଠି from the perception of smoke I infer the existence of fire. ମୁଁ
ହୁଁ
ଅନୁମାନ କଲି ସେଠି ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ନିଆଁ ଲାଗିଛି, ତେଣୁ ସେଠି ଧୂଆଁ ବାହାରୁଛି।
so my question is inference is this process or the fire itself is in inference.
So fire is the object that is being identified through the process of inference.
Okay, okay.
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 So logic deals with the valid and invalid inferences. But whether an inference is valid or invalid can be known when the inference is expressed in language. So, when an inference is expressed in language, it becomes an argument. Okay? ବୁଝିପାରିଲ ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଆମେ କେମିତି ଆସିଲୁ?
Hmm.
Let's now discuss arguments. So, arguments are built with propositions. What is the constituent of argument? The constituents of arguments are the propositions, okay, or statements. So, in the argument, which is consist of a set of propositions, one of the proposition is called as the conclusion. ସେଇ आर्गुमेंट रे मैं हिंदी रे कहूँ वो आर्गुमेंट में जितने प्रपोजिशंस होते हैं उनमें से एक प्रपोजिशन कंक्लूजन होता है और बाकी जो अदर प्रपोजिशन होते हैं उनको हम प्रेमाइसिस बोलते हैं. क्या बोलते हैं? प्रेमाइसिस बोलते हैं. That means the conclusion is followed from the premises. So both the premises as well as the conclusion are the parts of the argument. Argument consists of premises and the conclusion. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. So, in any argument, we affirm one proposition, that is the conclusion, on the basis of some other propositions which are called as premises. In doing this, an inference is drawn. So, inference is a process that may tie together a cluster of propositions. Some inferences are warranted or they are correct, others are not. The logician analyzes these clusters of propositions, examining with which the process begins and with which it ends, as well as the relations among these propositions. तो लॉजिशियन काम कौन? लॉजिशियन काम होची से এই जो प्रपोजिशन मानकू नै कि आर्गुमेंट तैयारी होची ताकू एग्जामिन करिवा. To examine the conclusion, the end, and to examine the premises or the beginning, and to examine the relation between the premises and the conclusion. Such a cluster of proposition constituents an arguments. So, arguments are the very significant concern of logic. Now, what is the characteristic of argument? Arguments are either valid or invalid. Yes, go on. Somebody has raised a hand.
Sorry, madam, I just clicked it.
Okay, okay. What's your name? It's written Mr.
Uh,
ORC.
yeah, Sriram Panda.
Okay, Sriram. Okay, fine. So, arguments are either valid or invalid. Okay, that is the very characteristic of an argument. So, in a valid argument, listen carefully. Okay, what is validity and invalidity of argument? I will explain what is valid argument, then we will see what is an invalid argument. In a valid argument, the premises support the conclusion or the conclusion follows from the premises. A valid argument रे कौन होगा? Conclusion will be supported by the premises. or the conclusion follows from the premises. So, in a valid argument, the conclusion is justified by the premises. But in case of an invalid argument, in case of an invalid argument, the conclusion does not follow from the premises. Do you understand the distinction between valid and invalid argument? Anyone?
I think so.
Others, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, invalid argument, the conclusion is justified by the premises, whereas in an invalid argument, the conclusion does not follow from the premises, or in other words, the premises do not support the conclusion. Logic studies both kinds of arguments and elucidate the rules of valid forms of argument. Logic studies the relation between the supporting premises and the supported conclusion in valid forms of argument and tries to enumerate the conditions on which the relevance of the premises to the conclusion depends. So logic रे ଆମେ ଏଇ ଦିଟା ପ୍ରକାର argument ସହିତ deal କରୁଛୁ, both valid and invalid arguments. ओके, जोटा मु तुमको प्रेमाइसेस कहली कंक्लूजन कहली सेटा बुझी पारलो. कंक्लूजन गोटे प्रपोजिशन, प्रेमाइसेस गुडा भी प्रपोजिशन. प्रेमाइसेस और कंक्लूजन बोथ आर द पार्ट्स ऑफ एन आर्गुमेंट. ओके, प्रेमाइसेस कौन? जो प्रपोजिशन को नेकी गोटे कंक्लूजन तैयारी हुए. कंक्लूजन कौन? कंक्लूजन होची सेही प्रपोजिशन जे ऑलरेडी गिवन सेट ऑफ प्रपोजिशन रु फॉलो करथिबो. ओके.
हाँ बुझिगला.
So the validity of an argument, next, which is very important, try to understand it. The validity of an argument is not dependent upon the truth or falsity of the proposition. ओके, मु कहली आर्गुमेंट टा कहा को नेकी तैयारी होची? प्रपोजिशन मानन को नेकी तैयारी होची. हैला, प्रपोजिशन रो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक कोन? प्रपोजिशन रो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक होची दे आर आइदर ट्रू और फॉल्स. ओके, प्रपोजिशंस आर आइदर ट्रू और फॉल्स. किंतु आर्गुमेंट रो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक कोन? आर्गुमेंट गुडा को आइदर वैलिड हेतिबो नहले इनवैलिड हेतिबो. हैला, किंतु आर्गुमेंट रो वैलिडिटी किंबा इनवैलिडिटी प्रपोजिशन रो ट्रूथ और फैल्सिटी ऊपर डिपेंड करिबो नाही. प्रपोजिशन ट्रू हो कि फॉल्स हो, गोटे आर्गुमेंट वैलिड हबो कि इनवैलिड, दैट विल नॉट डिपेंड अपॉन इट. So the validity of an argument is independent of the truth or falsity of the premises and conclusion. That means in a valid argument, the premises may be true or may not be true, and so also the conclusion. In a valid argument, any or all the premises may be false, yet they may justify the conclusion. Similarly, এই লাইনটা বুঝি পারল? কোন কহিলি?
Ma'am, can I try with an example a little bit? Whether
Yes.
suppose we take the case of meaning of life, and I take, for example, I build an argument that meaning of life is moksha, I can also build an argument that meaning of life is happiness here in this world. Both can be within the premise set, both uh, can hold consistently. The logic will be consistent because of the premise, but it may not be true that means the premise may not be true that it is moksha or it is happiness here, uh, because we have set the premise like that, so we can build a consistent argument within that premise.
Yes. Yes. So
So
let me, yes. Anybody else? Are you saying something?
no, I just wanted to verify whether I'm understanding it correctly or
Yes,
not.
yes, correct, correct. So shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So So, in a valid argument, it could be the possible situation that all the premises may be true or they may not be true, so also the conclusion. And it could be also possible that all the premises may be false, so as the conclusion. So, that means truth and falsity of the propositions do not play any role to determine the validity or invalidity of an argument. Similarly, in an invalid argument, the premises may be true and so also the conclusion, yet premises do not justify to the conclusion. So there are many examples in the logic books, if you will see, where it is being enumerated that what are the valid arguments and what are the invalid arguments. So, if validity of an argument does not depend upon the truth or falsity of the premises, then on what it depends? Validity of the argument depends upon the relation between the premises and the conclusion. It depends upon the relations among the premises and the conclusion, not upon their truth. Okay? So, how we can identify the conclusion in any argument? How we can identify the conclusion? Okay, so the conclusion is preceded by certain expressions like therefore, so, consequently, hence, etc., etc., or the three dots symbol if you are acquainted with. Okay? Yes.
Ma'am, what Ambrish actually gave an example of premises, I mean the argument. Can you please explain that with the which is premise and conclusion, and whether his argument is invalid or valid about what he said life meaning is moksha?
No, Ambrish has not given any conclusion. He just stated two propositions. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just coming to it. We will explain it in detail. So just
Ma'am,
huh,
isn't that conclusion when it say when he said that life is life meaning is moksha?
huh?
Isn't that a conclusion?
Then what are the premises then?
Yeah, the premises is missing maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has to give certain premises.
Uh,
Okay. In support of the conclusion.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay.
ତେଣୁ ଆମେ କ'ଣ କହିଲେ କନକ୍ଲୁଜନ କୁ ଆଇଡେଣ୍ଟିଫାଏ କରିବାକୁ ହେଲେ ଆମେ କିଛିଟା ୱାର୍ଡ କୁ ରେକଗ୍ନାଇଜ କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ। ତ କନକ୍ଲୁଜନ ଯେତେବେଳେ କୌଣସି ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟରେ ଥିବ ଦେଖିବ ସେଇ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଏଇଭଳିଆ ୱାର୍ଡ ଗୁଡା ଥିବ, ଦେୟାର ଫୋର ଥିବ, କି ସୋ ଥିବ, କି କନସିକ୍ୱେଣ୍ଟଲି ଥିବ, କି ହେନ୍ସ ଥିବ, ଏଟସେଟ୍ରା ଏଟସେଟ୍ରା। Okay, but it is not always the case that there will be first premises then conclusion. The order may vary. Okay, the order
Yes.
may vary. So, in our usual practice, we do not put our argument in a very neat form, in a very clear form. The order in which premises and conclusion appear can also vary. So it is our job to identify which proposition in a given argument is a conclusion and what are its premises. Okay? Then logic is not a normative science. What is a normative science? Normative science deals with norms or rules. Okay? The logic is certainly not a normative science. That is, in the sense, it does not teach us how we ought to proceed to produce an argument. Rather, it teaches us how to test the validity of an argument. It does not teach us how we can produce a valid argument. Rather, what logic teaches us is to test the validity of an argument. It teaches us the rules of validity, not the rules of discovery of valid argument. We are not discovering what are the valid arguments. Rather, we are testing the validity of the arguments. So, it teaches us how to test a valid argument, but not how to produce a valid argument. Therefore, logic is concerned with proof, not with discovery. Clear? Am
Yes,
I
ma'am.
clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, coming to the branches of logic. Okay. So, logic in general are of two types. One is your deductive logic, another is your inductive logic. Deductive logic and inductive logic. Sorry about that. Or deductive argument and inductive argument. What is deductive argument? In deductive argument, the conclusion only states what is implied in the premises. In deductive argument, the conclusion only states what is implied in the premises. Premises रे जहाँ कुहा ହେଇଥିବ ସେଇ ଜିନିଷ ହିଁ conclusion କହିବ, ନା ତାଠୁ ଅଧିକ କହିବ ନା ତାଠୁ କମ କହିବ। କୋଉ ପ୍ରକାର ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟ ରେ? ଡିଡକ୍ଟିଭ ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟ ରେ। It is therefore not more general than what is contained in the premises. A deductive argument makes the claim that its conclusion is supported by the premises conclusively. In other words, in a valid deductive argument, the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises, and therefore the conclusion is a valid. Therefore, the conclusion in a valid argument is certain. In a deductive argument, the premises either fully justify or do not justify at all the conclusion. There is no question of degree of justification in this sense. Since the conclusion asserts what is already implied by asserting the premises, then if we have to accept the premises, we must have to accept the conclusion. Any questions?
Ma'am, could you repeat the last sentence just one more time?
Yes. Since the conclusion asserts what is already implied by asserting the premises, then if we have to accept the premises, we must have to accept the conclusion. Okay? So, in a valid deductive argument, the conclusion only states what is already stated in the premises. Therefore, the conclusion in a deductive argument or in a valid deductive argument is certain. The conclusion is conclusively established in a deductive argument. Okay? Whereas, whereas in an inductive argument, the conclusion is more general than the premises. ଆମେ ଡିଡକ୍ଟିଭ ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟରେ କହିଲୁ ଯେ କନକ୍ଲୁଜନଟା ପ୍ରେମାଇସିସ୍ ଠାରୁ ଅଧିକ କିଛି କହିବ ନାହିଁ. Conclusion will not say or conclusion will not be more general than the premises in case of deductive argument. Whereas in the inductive argument, okay, in the inductive argument, the conclusion is more general than the premises. Okay? It asserts more than what is asserted in the premises. The premises में जो बोला गया है उससे ज़्यादा कंक्लूजन बोल सकता है. कौन से आर्गुमेंट में? इंडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट. Okay? Here the premises provide some grounds to accept the conclusion but do not conclusively prove it. In an inductive argument, premises provide certain ground to accept the conclusion but do not conclusively prove it. Since the conclusion asserts more than what is asserted in the premises, it is only probable. So, in deductive argument, the conclusion is certain, but in inductive argument, the conclusion is probable in nature. Okay, so I will give you an example of a deductive argument as well as an inductive argument. Deductive argument example is all politicians are unreliable. First premise, Sudhakar is a politician. Therefore, Sudhakar is unreliable. Did you get it?
Ma'am, in this example, how are we saying it is a conclusive how it is conclusive, because like politician can be reliable. So I'm little confused about that. Like, isn't it an interpretation?
No. See, in deductive argument, we are not going to search for the factual evidence.
Right, right.
Okay?
Yeah,
We are not going to the outside world to see whether the proposition that is there in my premise is actually uh, is an event or not. Okay? So, our only concern here is to see the relations among the premises and the conclusion. Okay. सो ये जो आर्गुमेंट है this deductive argument, all politicians are unreliable. This is the first premise. Sudhakar is a politician. Second premise, therefore Sudhakar is unreliable.
okay.
So Sudhakar is unreliable. This proposition is the conclusion, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So Sudhakar is unreliable. This conclusion follows from what is already stated in the premises. Okay?
Yes.
Therefore, this is a deductive argument. Okay? Th- that is why in deductive argument it claims that since the conclusion asserts what is implied in the premises, therefore, if we accept the conclusion, then we have to accept the premises as well. Okay. Whereas in an inductive argument, I told you that in an inductive argument, the conclusion is always probable in nature because the conclusion is more general than the premises, which is not the case in the case of deductive argument. Deductive argument रे conclusion can conclusion cannot be more general than the premises. Okay, so in an inductive argument, the conclusion since the conclusion is more general than the premises, therefore it cannot be certain. Rather, it is always probable in nature. Okay, example, let me give you an example. Suppose we are having A is a crow. A is a crow and A is black. B is a crow and B is black. C is a crow, C is black. D is a crow, D is black. Therefore, what I infer? Tell me the conclusion.
All crows are black.
Good. Therefore, we infer that all crows are black. Okay. Now, the premises or instances that I have taken are the particular instances. Yes or no?
Yes,
But our conclusion is general.
yes.
Okay. So, if we find a crow which is white, then what will happen to our conclusion?
It will be false.
Yes, it will be false. Therefore, in an inductive argument, the conclusion is probable. Because if any new premise will be discovered, the conclusion becomes false. Okay? Am I clear to everybody?
Yeah.
What about others? Pankajini, Swagatika, Biswaranjan, Supriya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mamata, yes. Okay, okay, thank you. So let's take another example of an inductive argument. The premise is all the cows we have examined so far have hearts. All the cows we have examined so far have hearts. Therefore, all cows have hearts. Okay, that is the example of inductive argument. So, in an inductive argument, the conclusion does follow from the premises, but it does not necessarily follow from the premises. Because the conclusion in an inductive argument is always probable in nature. Okay? Okay? Till now, am I clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we will discuss what is laws of logic. We have we have discussed that what is valid argument and what is invalid argument. And as I have told you already, the invalid argument, the conclusion follows from the premises, or in other words, premises justify the conclusion, which is not the case in invalid argument. Okay. So, in a valid argument, okay, the propositions or the argument itself based upon some fundamental laws. They should based upon certain fundamental laws. These laws are also called laws of thought. Okay. So, since logic is concerned with validity of argument, and we know that all arguments are not valid, but the arguments which are valid based upon some fundamental laws. These laws are called fundamental laws of logic or the laws of thought. So Aristotle has listed up three fundamental laws. What are these? The first law is the law of identity. The second law is law of contradiction. And the third law is law of excluded middle. Okay? Law of identity, law of contradiction, law of excluded middle. These are the three fundamental logical laws, or which are also called as the laws of thought. Okay. So let us discuss what is law of identity. This law is formulated as a thing is identified with itself. A thing is identified with itself. That means a thing is what it is, or a thing is not anything other than itself, which symbolically can be expressed as A is A. So, what is this law of identity talks about? That each and everything is identical to itself. It is what it is, not anything else. That is the very law. So if P is any proposition, then as per this law, we can state that P is identified with P, which is always true. Okay. That means, for example, the table is the table. The table is not anything else other than the table. Am I clear?
Yeah.
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଟିକେ କୁହନ୍ତୁ ମାନେ ଟିକେ ବୁଝି ହେଲାନି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା, ଏ ଯୋଉ ଲ ଅଫ୍ ଆଇଡେଣ୍ଟିଟିଟା ଯେମିତି ତା ନାଁ ତମକୁ ବୁଝଉଛି ଲ ଅଫ୍ ଆଇଡେଣ୍ଟିଟି, ସେ କହୁଛି ପ୍ରତିଟି ଜିନିଷ ନିଜ ସହିତ ଆଇଡେଣ୍ଟିକାଲ ହେଲା। ତା ଅର୍ଥ ଟେବୁଲକୁ ଟେବୁଲ ହିଁ କହିପାରିବ, ଟେବୁଲକୁ ଟେବୁଲ ଛଡା ଆଉ କୌଣସି ଅବଜେକ୍ଟ ତମେ କହିପାରିବନି। ବୁଝି ହଉଛି ମୋ କଥା ପଙ୍କଜିନୀ?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ହଁ, ତେଣୁକରି ତାକୁ ସିମ୍ବଲିକାଲି ସେ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ରେସ କରୁଛନ୍ତି A is A or A is identified as A। ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ରେସନଟା ସବୁବେଳେ ଟ୍ରୁ ହବ, ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ଅଲୱେଜ ଟ୍ରୁ। ଓକେ, ପଙ୍କଜିନୀ ଇଜ ପଙ୍କଜିନୀ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
is
ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
always
ଆଜ୍ଞା
true.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
Pankajini is not Ambrish Mishra. Pankajini is not Vishwaranjan Mahapatra. Pankajini is Pankajini. So a thing is always identical with itself. That is the very law of identity. Okay.
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
So from this law, another law follows, that is law of contradiction. So ଯଦି ମୁଁ କହୁଛି, if I am saying that A is A, then it is implied that A can never be not A. ଯଦି A ଟା A ହିଁ ହବ, ତାହେଲେ A ଟା କେବେ not A ହେଇପାରିବ କି? ହେଇପାରିବ କି କୁହ?
No.
Okay. So the law of contradiction states that two contradictory qualities cannot be asserted with regard to anything at one and the same time. I am repeating it. The law of contradiction states that two contradictory qualities cannot be asserted with regard to anything at one and the same time. I cannot I cannot say something is black and not black at the same time. If I am saying it, then I am contradicting myself. Then I am violating this law of contradiction.
Can we say that all paradoxes are then contradictory in nature?
You can say so, but not all paradoxes.
Okay.
But not all paradoxes. Okay. So a thing cannot both be A and not A at the same time. Okay, am I clear?
Yes.
ୟେସ୍ ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
So law of identity कौन कहला? what does it say? It says thing is identical to itself. Symbolically, A is A. Law of contradiction is saying that something cannot be both A and not A at the same time. Okay. And from these two law, the third law is being implied, which is called as law of excluded middle. So when we are saying that something cannot be both A and not A at the same time, that means actually what we are saying is something is either A or not A. Okay, so symbolically, law of excluded middle can be expressed in the form of either or. So it says that there is no middle point between A and not A. There is no middle way between A and not A. Okay. ତେଣୁ law of excluded middle ଟା ସେଇ law of contradiction ରୁ imply କରାଗଲା. law of contradiction କ'ଣ କହିଲା? ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଗୋଟିଏ ସମୟରେ ଦିଟା contradictory qualities କୁ hold କରିପାରିବ ନାହିଁ. ତ ଯଦି କରିପାରିବ ନାହିଁ ତାହେଲେ it must be either one of them. ହେଲା ବୁଝିପାରିଲ?
Yes, yes.
So this law states that between A and not A, there is no middle position possible. So if a thing is not A, then it must be not A. If A is denied of anything, then not A must be affirmed. A and not A exhaust the entire discourse. ତମେ ପୁରା ୱାର୍ଲଡକୁ ଏଇ ଦିଟା କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଡିକ୍ଟୋରୀ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଭିତରେ ସମ୍ ଅପ୍ କରିଦେଇ ପାରିବ. A black, suppose we take the example of black and not black. Everything that is there in the world can be put into these two categories, A and not A, or black and not black. ଯାହା ବି ତମ ପାଖରେ ଯାହା ବି ୟୁନିଭର୍ସରେ ଅଛି ଯେତେ ପ୍ରକାରର ଜିନିଷ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷକୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କାଟେଗୋରାଇଜେସନ କରିବା ଆମେ ବ୍ରଡଲି ଏଇ ଦିଟା କାଟେଗୋରୀ ଭିତରେ ପ୍ରତି ଜିନିଷକୁ ରଖିଦେଇ ପାରିବା. ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ଆଉ ନଟ୍ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ କୁହ, ହ୍ୱାଇଟ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ନଟ୍ ହ୍ୱାଇଟ୍ କୁହ, ହାର୍ଡ ଆଣ୍ଡ ନଟ୍ ହାର୍ଡ କୁହ. ଓକେ,
Yes.
ବୁଝିହେଲା? ଏତିକି ବୁଝିଲ ସମସ୍ତେ? If all of you are clear till now, please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, next we will discuss the analysis of or the distinction between words and terms. Words and terms. Till now, we have discussion kale valid argument, invalid argument, constituent of arguments, then deductive form of argument, inductive argument, and what is deductive argument, what is inductive argument, and we know that the argument consists of certain propositions. Okay. Next, we will be discussing words and terms. An argument consists of statements. A statement makes an assertion, What the statement asserts is called a proposition. What it asserts constitutes its meaning. From the standpoint of meaning, a statement expresses a proposition. From the standpoint of construction, it consists of an arrangement of words. The same proposition might be expressed by different sentences. Different sentences may express one and the same proposition. Similarly, different propositions might be expressed by the same sentence on different occasions of its use. Are you getting me?
Uh, so you talked about words and arguments, statements, assertion, proposition.
Yes.
Then after that, little bit I lost you about construction.
Okay, let me make myself clear. We talk about arguments, and arguments are they built up with propositions. Okay, or statements. These statements makes an assertion. What is an assertion? Do you know?
Like a claim.
A claim. Good. So, what the statement asserts, what the statement asserts is called as a proposition. It's called as a proposition. Because what it asserts constitutes its meaning. Therefore, I was saying from the standpoint of meaning, from the standpoint of meaning, a statement expresses a proposition, whereas from the standpoint of construction, it consists of an arrangement of words. Generally, when we are asked, what is a statement? We reply that the statement is a well formed arrangement of different words. Okay? Or grammatically well formed arrangement of words. That is the very construction of the statement. But what the statement claims, what does it mean? That very claim, that very meaning is called as the proposition. Am I clear, Amrish?
Yes, ma'am. Is it like semantics would be
Yes,
associated?
yes. It is semantics and syntax. Okay. It is this explanation of syntax and semantics. So we are not only concerned about the syntax or the grammar. We are concerned about the semantics of the statements or propositions. Okay? Therefore, since the statement asserts the proposition, and proposition is the meaning of the statement, therefore, the same proposition can be stated by different statements. Yes or no?
Yes.
For example, let me give you an example. ମୁଁ କାହାର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ୍ ଦେଉଛି ଯେ କେମିତି ଗୋଟିଏ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ୍ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟେଟମେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଏକ୍ସପ୍ରେସ୍ ହେଇପାରିବ ହେଲା ସପୋଜ we are saying it is raining. In Hindi बारिश हो रहा है. In ओडिया ବର୍ଷା ହେଉଛି. ଏ ତିନିଟା ଯାକ sentences ଗୁଡାକ, all these three sentences mean the same thing. Yes or
Yes,
no?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is what we are saying. That the same proposition can be expressed by different statements. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And there is a possibility that the same statement could also mean differently. The same statement can have different meanings. When, for example, when I am uttering the sentence, I am reading logic. I am reading logic. It is uttered by me, and if the sentence is uttered by each one of you, are you getting me what I am saying? This same sentence, I am reading logic, is being uttered by each one of you. Momata is saying, I am reading logic. Ambrish is saying, I am reading logic. Swagatika is saying, I am reading logic. So here, the statement is same. Okay. So meaning of one and the same sentence varies according to the context. Okay. And another example which will depict that how different statements can express the same proposition. ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହିଲି ଯେ it is raining, ବର୍ଷା ହେଉଛି, बारिश हो रहा है. All these are, they mean the same thing or same proposition but expressed in different statements. Another example is Rama killed Ravana. Ram killed Ravana. Or, for example, Ravana was killed by Rama. These two sentences are different from one another, but the proposition which they express are one and the same. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
ବୁଝିପାରିଲ ଏତିକି
Yes,
ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ?
ma'am.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, listen carefully. The constituents of a sentence are words. the constituents of a sentence are words, and the constituent of a proposition are terms. Sentence ର constituent କ'ଣ? Words. Proposition ର constituent କ'ଣ? Terms. Okay?
Yes.
So a word consists of letters. It is a constituent of a sentence. Okay. But a term consists of either one word or many words. The term can be a single word, and it could also be many words. ବୁଝିହେଲା ଏଇଟା କ'ଣ କୁହାହେଲା?
The term with one word or many words, that is not very clear.
Okay. You understand what is word?
Yeah.
There is no problem. Okay.
Yeah.
And word is the constituent of a sentence.
Yes.
And term is the constituent of what?
Proposition.
Proposition. Now, this term, which is a constituent of proposition, can be a single worded or it can be a multi-worded or many-worded term.
Okay. Like if I say like something like a priory, so this is a term. So
No, you have to express it in a proposition.
Okay.
Because as we are saying, a proposition has the constituent as terms. Okay. So the term is used in a proposition either as a subject term or as a predicate term. Okay. A term is used either as a subject term or as a predicate term of a proposition. For example, I am giving you the example of the term which is only one word and the term which is consists of many words. Hela? ମୁଁ କ'ଣ କହିଲି? Term କାହାର constituent? Proposition ର constituent. ତେଣୁ proposition ର ଗୋଟେ subject part ଅଛି, ଗୋଟେ predicate part ଅଛି. ତେଣୁ term ଟା either subject term ହବ ନହେଲେ predicate term ହବ. ବୁଝିହେଲା?
Yes.
What is subject term? Subject term signifies a person or a thing or a class of persons, a class of things about which something is asserted in the proposition. And what is predicate term? The predicate term signifies a quality or an attribute which is asserted of the subject term. Predicate talks about the subject. Okay. Let's take an example. Rama, the son of Dasaratha, was an ideal king. Rama, the son of Dasaratha, was an ideal king. What is the subject term here?
Rama.
not only Rama.
So the son of Dasharatha.
Rama, the son of Dasaratha.
Yes.
ହେଲା that is the subject term. तो ये subject term रे केतना word अछि?
4. Rama, the son of.
Rama, the son of Dasaratha.
5.
केतना ହେଲା? 5
Five.
words.
Words.
ହେଲା
Yes, ma'am.
ଦେଖିଲ ତ subject term ଟା କେତେଟା word ହେଇଛି subject term ଟା କେତେଟା word ନେଇକି ହେଇଛି ଏଠି
5 word.
5 words ହେଲା and what is the predicate କଣ
He's an
About
ideal king.
an
ideal.
ideal king is the predicate. So this ideal king or an ideal king is also the predicate term is not only it is not a single word. There are 3 words. An ideal king. So the term can be a single word or it could be a combination of words. ବୁଝିପାରିଲ example ରୁ?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, Nigda,
Ma'am, what's the difference between proposition and sentence? You said proposition has both subject and predicate. Then is it a sentence or is there anything different?
I was saying that when a sentence asserts something, it declares something, it becomes the proposition. But that does not mean all the sentences are to be called as proposition. Because we are using the sentences to make questions, to make
Mm-hmm.
requests. And as I have already told you that the propositions, the characteristic of propositions are either true or false.
Yes.
Yes. So how do you know that the proposition is true or false? How do we know? The proposition will be true if it corresponds with the world,
Hmm.
and it is false if it incorrectly corresponds with the world.
Yes.
Okay. But what about the sentences which we are making for which we are using to make questions? Can we decide the truth value of these sentences?
Yes.
How can you say? Suppose I am asking you,
Yes.
Sudha, from where you are coming? This particular sentence. Can you say, can you decide the truth value of this
No,
sentence?
no, no. No.
Yes. Or if I am saying, please shut the door. Can we decide the truth value of such sentences?
No.
Certainly no. Okay. So the sentences, when we are using the sentences to make any assertion, to make any claim, or to declare something, then only the sentences will be able to be decidable as either true or false. Okay, not all, because the sentences have variety of uses. Therefore, only declarative sentences are called as propositions. Okay, declarative sentences mean the sentences which declare something, which claims something.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So the subject term of a proposition is that about which something is said, and the predicate term of a proposition is that which says something about the subject term. Therefore, a term is always an element of a proposition. It is either the subject part or the predicate part of the proposition. It may be single worded or many worded. It may signify either an individual or a class of individuals. It may also signify either a property or a quality. Okay. For example, cows are quadruped. Cows are quadruped. Here the subject is cows. It is a single word, refers to the class of cows. Isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So far, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, is it clear? Okay. Since we are saying that terms can be a single worded or many worded, okay, let's see how or what kind of words can be the part of terms. Okay, can be the part of terms. So there are three types of words. What are these? Categorimatic, syncategorimatic, and acategorimatic words. What are these? Categorimatic, syncategorimatic, and acategorimatic words. What is categorimatic words? Categorimatic words can be independently be used as the subject term or as the predicate term of a proposition. Categorimatic terms can be independently used as either the subject term or the predicate term of the proposition. For example, the word man, the word Socrates, the word mountain, or the word mortal, or the word green, etc. etc. So, categorimatic words are eligible to be part of the subject term or the predicate term. Same categorimatic words. The same categorimatic words cannot independently be used either as the subject term or the predicate term, but can be used in the company of other words to constitute the subject or the predicate term. For example, articles or prepositions. Articles like a and the, prepositions like of. So the word a in itself cannot be a subject term. Similarly, the word of independently in itself can be the subject or the predicate term. So they need to be associated with other words to become part of the subject or the predicate term. For example, the son of Dasaratha was an ideal king. Here, the is an definite article and of is a preposition which are associated with the words like son and Dasaratha. So, same categorimatic words cannot independently be used either as subject term or the predicate term, but can be used in the company of other words to constitute the subject or the predicate terms. Acategorimatic words are neither categorimatic nor syncategorimatic. They cannot be used as they cannot be used either independently or in company with other words to signify a term of a proposition. They are neither categorimatic or syncategorimatic, rather they are called as acategorimatic. For example, words like hi, oh, wow, etc. etc. Am I clear
Yeah.
so far? So far, is it clear to everybody? Okay. Our discussion about words and terms brings us to discuss about their meaning and their references. Okay. When we are citing the example, cows are quadruped. Cows are quadruped. Here, the general term cows denotes the class cow and it connotes their common and essential qualities on the basis of which they are named or being the member of the class. So a term has a denotation and it has a connotation. A term has a denotation and a connotation. What is denotation? Denotation is the object or the thing or the entity that is referred by the term, and connotation is the essential quality of the term to be named as it is. Connotation is the essential determining feature of the term. Okay? So when we say all men are mortal, here there is a subject term and the predicate term, and the subject term man here refers not to any individual man, rather it refers to all the men of past, present and future. and that is the denotation of the term man. Okay, and this class man possesses an essential feature or the defining characteristic or the connotation which is shared by the members of that class man. Okay, can we say all dogs are cats? Can we say?
No,
Why?
because it will violate like the denotation
As
about
well as the connotation.
yeah.
Okay, because the members who are the members of class dog cannot be the members of class cat, because the essential defining feature of that class is different from the essential defining feature of the class cat. Okay, so here denotation and connotation of a term is very significant. Okay, so the when we say the all men, sorry, all men are mortal, here the subject of man includes all the men of past, present and future, which is to be called as denotation of the term, whereas the connotation refers to the quality or the qualities, the quality or the qualities by virtue of which these individual human beings are called men, constitute the connotation of that term. Okay, so the qualities which these individuals share in common and without which they will not be called as men constitute the very connotation of the term man. Now, the relation between denotation and connotation is, a, is an inverse relation. The relation between denotation and connotation is inverse relation. Inverse relation means if the denotation increases, the connotation decreases, and if the denotation decreases, then the connotation increases. Okay? Am I clear?
Uh, can you just elaborate this with an
Yes, I
example?
will elaborate it. And to you have to help me out to understand this. You write down in your copy if you are having a classification. Okay. First write substance. All of you. Once you're done, please say yes.
We have to write substance.
Yes.
Okay.
Then divide the substance into two groups. One is corporeal, another is non corporeal. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Corporeal money means physical body. Okay. Non-corporeal money means non-physical. Okay. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Then divide the corporeal into two categories: animate and inanimate.
Okay.
Okay? Then divide the animate into two groups: animals and plants. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then divide the animals into two groups: man and brutes. Man, rational animal; brutes, irrational animals. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Then divide the man into four groups: black man, white man, red man, yellow man. Can any one of you repeat the classification?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Sagatika. Tell me.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, जो rational animal, irrational animal, please against him.
एनिमल टाକୁ ଦି ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ କର। ଗୋଟେ ହଉଛି ମ୍ୟାନ୍ ଯେ କି ରାସନାଲ ଆନିମଲ, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ହଉଛି ବ୍ରୁଟ୍ ଯେ କି ଇରାସନାଲ ଆନିମଲ। ହେଲା?
Yes, ma'am.
ତାପରେ ପୁଣି ମ୍ୟାନ୍ କୁ ଚାରି ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ କର: ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍, ହ୍ୱାଇଟ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍, ରେଡ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍, ୟେଲୋ ମ୍ୟାନ୍।
Yes, ma'am.
ହେଲା? Done? Is it done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yes, then tell me uh, what you have written. Any one of you. Swagatika.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ तो
Ma'am,
कौन लिख लगो
ma'am, substance two types. One non-corporeal,
corporeal हाँ
corporeal. Corporeal two types: animate and inanimate. Animate two types: animals, plants. Animals two types: man, brutes. Man four types: black man, red man, yellow man, white man.
yes thank you এটা টাইপ কইবনি এটা ଆମେ ତାକୁ divide କରୁଛୁ these are the divisions we have done ହେଲା
Yes,
these
yes,
are not two types there could be many other types
yes,
okay acha
yes, ma'am.
so see when we talk about the class man when you talk about the class man Amrish are you listening
Yes.
yes so here what will be the denotation of this class denotation will be all the man of past present and future okay and connotation will be being rational okay So anything which is rational will be the member of the class man. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's decrease the denotation. If I will say white man, okay, so the denotation of the term man and the denotation of the term white man, which term has more denotation?
White man has more denotation
How?
because white ma- because additional information is there in that.
No, 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 no. You are just confusing it. See, denotation means the references. Yes or no?
Yeah.
And connotation is the essential feature or essential quality defining properties of the class.
Yes.
So when I am saying the denotation of the term man, then the denotation includes all the man of present, past, and future.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the connotation of the term man is rationality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But when I am saying white man, there the denotation of the term white man will be less than the denotation of the term
Yes.
man.
Yes. Okay. Understood.
Whereas the additional connotation being whitish or being whitish is added to the connotation rationality. Okay? So when the denotation decreases, connotation increases, and when the connotation, when the denotation increases, connotation decreases. If we talk about animals, then certainly rationality will not be the connotation. Okay? Am I clear to everybody? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then let's discuss about this classification that you have done. Here, the highest class, that is the substance class. That is the substance class. This substance class is called as the summum genus or the same summum bonum or the summum genus, highest class. It is highest class because it is not a subclass to any other higher classes. A substance जो wordଟା ତମେ ଲେଖିଲ ଏ category ଆମେ ତିଆରି କଲେ ଏ substanceଟାକୁ highest class କୁହାଯିବ କାରଣ ଏଇଟା ଆଉ କୌଣସି highest classର sub classes ଭିତରେ ଯାଉ ନାହିଁ ହେଲା ବୁଝି ହେଲା
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. ଏଇ ଯୋଉ substance ଆମର highest class ଆସିଲା corporeal ଆଉ non corporeal ହଉଛି ତାର sub class. Corporeal and non-corporeal are the subclasses of the class substance. Okay? And animate and inanimate are the subclasses of the class corporeal. Okay, so here this corporeal is called as the genus. It is called as the genus. What is genus? Genus is the class which is having other subclasses. A subclasses ଗୁଡାକୁ ଆଉ କ'ଣ କୁହାଯାଏ? It subclasses are also called as the species. These are also called as the species. SPECIES. Okay, clear समझते?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. अच्छा. Then animal is the genus of man and brute. Man and brute with a difference kana? Man hochi rational animal, brute hochi irrational animals. ହେଲା? अच्छा. Man को ଆମେ କେତେ ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ କରିଛେ?
Four. Four
ଚାରିଟା
types.
ଭାଗ. ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଚାରିଟା ଭାଗରେ ବିଭକ୍ତ କଲେ ଏଇ ଚାରିଟାକୁ ଆମେ କ'ଣ କହିବା? These are the extension of the term man. ଆକୁ କ'ଣ କୁହାଯିବ? କ'ଣ କୁହାଯିବ? Extension of the term. ବୁଝିହେଲା? The man term, which is divided into 4 types, it is black, white, red, yellow. These are the extension of the term man. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the man is the proximate genus of black, white, red, yellow. Proximate genus means the nearer genus. Okay. Is it clear, the classification, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have discussed the highest class. The highest class is that class which is not coming under any other higher classes. Okay. And then we are having genus and species. Genus is the class which is having subclasses. The subclasses are called as species. And what is species? Species are the subclasses which are having a genus of it. Okay. So an extension is the subclasses. The extension of a term means the subclasses. ଏଠି କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଦେଖ ଯଦି ଯୋଉଟା ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍ ତମେ ଲେଖିଛ এই ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍ ର ଜେନସ୍ ମ୍ୟାନ୍ ବି ହବ ଆନିମଲ ବି ହବ ଆନିମେଟ୍ ବି ହବ କର୍ପୋରିଆଲ ବି ହବ ସବଷ୍ଟାନ୍ସ ବି ହବ ଓକେ but difference is this black man has a proximate genus that is called man. All other genuses are the intermediate genuses. Okay? Am I clear to everybody?
And this last term is not clear about intermediate genuses and this last explanation which you.
Okay. See your last division. The last division is the division of the class man. Okay? This black, white, red, yellow are the extension or the subclasses of the class man. Okay? Now this man is the genus of all these subclasses?
Yes.
Okay. And the term animal is also the genus of this black, white, yellow, red.
Animal,
Yes.
irrational animal. Yeah. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as the animate and corporeal and substance,
Yes.
all of this will be the genus of black, white, red, yellow.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. But the proximate genus or the nearer genus is the term man.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Whereas the substance is the highest genus.
Yes.
And in between the higher genus and proximate genus, all other genus are to be called as intermediate genus.
Okay.
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 बुझे लगा?
Yes.
Okay. So like we are having a higher class or higher genus. Similarly, we are having a infima species. Infima species. INFIMA. Infima species. Infima species means it will not have any further subclasses. The the way we are saying that the higher class will not be the subclass of any other higher class. Similarly, infima species means it will not have any other subclasses. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But this particular concept, this particular concept infima species is restricted to the to a particular tabular arrangement. Suppose somebody will say that the white man can be divided into two groups: strong white man, weak white man. Okay, but we are saying that infima species will be that which will not have any other subclasses under it. So we can go on making divisions. So all these concepts like the higher class and the infima species are very much restricted to the particular tabular arrangement. So in our table, we are stuck with white, red, yellow, black. We didn't make any further division. So in our table, the infima species will be white, black, yellow, red. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now, another very significant concept is what is that by which we are drawing subclasses? What is that criteria by which we are drawing the subclasses from the genus? Okay? that very quality, that very quality on the basis of which we are drawing subclasses from the proximate genus is called as the differentia. It's called as the differentia. Differnatia. So, differentia is the quality or group of qualities which distinguishes a species from its proximate genus and as well as its other coordinate species constitute its differentia. Now, look at the table we have done. Look at the division we are made in animal into men and brutes. Okay. So animal is the proximate genus of the class man and brute. Okay. Am I clear?
Yes.
So animal is the proximate genus of man and brutes. Okay. Man and brutes are the coordinate species. They are the coordinate species. The अर्थ coordinate species means having the same genus. Okay. So man and brute are the coordinate species of the proximate genus animal, and by what quality we have drawn or we have made a subclass of animal into man and brute is the quality of rationality. So rationality is the differentia based upon which we are making a division or we are making a subclasses of as man and brute from the genus animate. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Swagatika, Pankajini, Mamata?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these are very important. Okay, this genus, species, and differentia. Now we are moving towards to discuss the classification of terms. The classification of terms. There are altogether 9 ways by which we can classify the terms. Okay. The first classification is between simple and composite. Simple terms and composite terms. Okay. Simple term consists of one word. A composite term is composed of many words. Simple term, for example, man, cat, your names, Ambrish, Tagatika, all these are simple terms. Composite is the combination of words. For example, man of power, son of Dasarath. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Second is, this is the first classification, simple and composite terms. Second is univocal and equivocal. Univocal, univocal, and equivocal, Equivocal. Okay. Univocal terms has a okay. Univocal has a definite sense, or each of these terms, univocal terms, they have a definite meaning. Whereas equivocal terms, they have more than one meaning. For example, foot, FOOT, it may mean either a part of a leg or a division of the army. So univocal terms, they have definite meaning, and equivocal terms, they have more than one meaning. Then the second ground of classification is between singular and general terms. Singular terms are referring to the individual objects or person. For example, singular terms refer to the proper names or to the demonstratives or to the definite descriptions. Proper names means proper name means the names which are not having any reference problem. Okay. And demonstratives means the words like this, that, it, here, there, etc. And definite descriptions means the descriptions which has the definite article the present Prime Minister of India. Okay. So all these terms which refer to a definite object or a person or an entity or a place will be called as a singular term. So a singular term could be a proper name, could be a demonstrative, could be a definite description. Whereas a general term refer to a class. Okay. A general term refer to a class. All women are writers. So here women is a general term. All cows are white. A cows is a general term. It is not referring to any individual entity. Then there is a classification on the basis of, or there is a classification between distributive terms and collective terms. In distributive terms, which can be applied in the same sense to any member of the class distributively or severally. The general terms are distributive in nature. That means if we are having a general term man, then each and every member of that class is to be called as man. Whereas the collective term stands for a group of individuals, not for the individuals separately. For example, the term library stands for a collection of books. It cannot be applied to the individual books separately. Then we are having definite terms, indefinite terms. Definite terms stands for a definite object, either a particular individual or an entire class of individuals. Whereas indefinite terms refers to or it fails to specify its sphere of application. For example, a man, a president of India, etc., etc. It does not refer to any definite person. When I'm saying a man, I met a man, it could be any man. Then there is a division between concrete and abstract terms. The term is concrete if it refers to things with qualities. The term is concrete if it refers to things with qualities. For example, man, horse, trees, etc. Whereas the term is abstract if it refers to a quality apart from the things in which it is found. It is therefore called as abstract. For example, honesty, virtue, brilliance, etc. Then there are another division is between positive term, negative term, and privative term. Positive term implies the presence of an object or a quality. For example, man, virtue, circularity, etc. Whereas negative terms implies the absence of an object or a quality. For example, not white, stupidity, idleness, etc. Privative terms shares the characteristic of both positive and negative terms. For example, blind, lame, etc. Further, the division is between absolute terms and relative terms. Absolute terms can be understood without reference to the meaning of any other term. Absolute terms can be understood without reference to the meaning of any other term. For example, book, window, man, etc. Whereas relative terms whose meaning has a necessary reference to the meaning of another term, that is to be called as relative in character. For example, teacher, student, ruler, subject, parents, children, etc. So one term cannot be understood without reference to another. The last division is connotative and non-connotative. The term is connotative if it has a meaning both in connotation and denotation. A connotative term implies qualities and also refer to the individuals. For example, all general terms are connotative. Non-connotative terms refers to an individual but not to its qualities. For example, the term circularity signifies a quality but has no reference to things which are circular. So, circle is connotative but circularity is non-connotative. Any questions so far? Any questions?
This last connotative and non-connotative, it's a bit unclear to me.
Okay. Others are okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So connotative, a term is said to be connotative, Amresh, if it has a meaning both in connotation and denotation. Okay. That means the term itself, it possesses the connotation and denotation. That term is called as connotative term. So all general terms are said to be connotative terms. Okay?
Okay.
Whereas a non-connotative term, on the other hand, refers to an individual but not to its qualities, or it may stand for a quality without reference to the thing which possesses such quality.
Okay.
Okay?
Hmm.
So, in that sense, the term circularity signifies a quality but has no reference to things which are circular.
Okay.
So, the term circle is connotative one, whereas the term circularity is a non-connotative one. So, this is the classification of terms. And I'm thinking that today we will stop here because I could not finish the portions that I want to cover today. But since it is almost 6:20, tell me what we can do. Shall I stop here?
Yeah, ma'am, I think it would be, it's already too much for us to
Yes,
tackle.
yes. You have the materials, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, then it's fine. So in the next class, I think the next class is on
Tomorrow.
12th,
Okay.
Monday.
Monday. Yes. So Monday we will meet again and we will discuss other things.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.